We often hear the dangers of swimming in the ocean, whether a high current or a rip current. You want to make sure you're staying safe at the beach this summer.
Well, we now want to bring in American Lifeguard Association National Spokesperson Wyatt Werner. Wyatt, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to talk with you with all the information that you can give us. What exactly is the difference, if there's one, between the high current and a rip current? I had never heard of a high current.
Hey guys, good morning. No, this is tragedy. No, the difference between there's a variety of different currents. What we need to be most concerned about is the rip current, which is a current that flows outward to sea. It doesn't take you under, and it's strongest at high tide going low. So that might be what you're referring to. But there's a variety of different currents, and it takes a trained eye to actually identify them. And we're trying to do our best to get education out there about it. But the most important thing is always swim in front of a lifeguard. Your chances of drowning in front of a lifeguard are 1 in 18 million. Lifeguards are trained to identify those hazards, put up flags, and warn people of those conditions. Unlike what happened over here in Costa Rica, their expectations for public safety aren't the same thing that we have, and we need to change that.
Well, how can someone spot a rip current? And I'm kind of confused myself because I've heard it both ways, where there's sort of some rough water in a little canal that's sort of leading from the coast out to sea. Others where it's kind of a calmer area in between waves, kind of like a wave break. So how, if you're on the beach, how do you know where one is?
Well, that's a great question. The best way to identify, start at the beach. If you look at the beach and you're at that area when the water surges in and gets all your stuff wet, but the people on both sides of you are dry, you're in the rip current area. That's an immediate identifier. Looking at the water can be very tricky sometimes, because even though you're looking for all these things that we preach about, the slicks and the foamy waters and where it breaks, it's not that easy to identify if you're not trained in it. The most important thing is, ask around, know before you go on the internet, do some research. There's usually warnings in areas that tell you what the flags conditions are, red, white, or red, green, and yellow, just like a stop sign. Red is stay out of the water, is high hazard. Yellow, use caution. Green is a moderate, kind of always hazard in the wild. But look for those kinds of things. Are much easier to understand than trying to read that water. That's something that the trained professionals takes years to understand.
And of course, we always tell people to stay calm and swim parallel to the shore if you're caught in a rip current there. What other advice do you have for people who may be caught and get caught up in a rip current?
Well, that's another good point. Staying calm is it. You have to stay. If you panic, you're going to lose your wits. But we've been asking people to identify that and swim parallel for a long time. But let's look at the people that are on the beach. Someone that sees someone in trouble. What do? Well, the most important thing at that point is to dial 911. Look for some flotation device. Here in Florida, we have the Ground Zero Project. They're putting life rings up at every beach access, and have something available. Never go in the water to help someone without flotation device.
Oh, that is such a good point. Mm-hmm. Now, among some of the other things that people need to keep in mind when swimming at the beach this summer, are there others that are kind of obvious that we should know about?
Well, things that we like to talk about are obviously swim in front of the lifeguard, know before you go. But assigning a water watcher could be critical. Even if you're going to an area that has a lifeguard, assigning a water watcher, someone in your family that most likely is trained in CPR, that won't be bothered by any distractions. They identify every person in your group on what their swimming ability is. If someone cannot swim, put them in a Coast Guard approved lifeguard jacket. But having someone else, an extra set of eyes, you can even have several people. If someone has to take a break, we have like whistles or even lanyards. You hand off and make that person the lifeguard of your family's group or a group. So always assign a water watcher, know before you go, and always swim in front of a lifeguard.
Oh, Wyatt Werner there with the American Lifeguard Association. Thanks again for joining us here. Always, again, great information, great life-saving information for people here. We always want to have fun at the beach, but staying safe is always first and foremost. Well, stay safe in the surf by knowing the conditions ahead of time. The TWC streaming app has the alerts to help you stay informed wherever you go. Go to streamtwc.com to get it for your smart TV or favorite device.